Good morning and welcome to Thrive, Not Just Survive. Today is Wednesday, and I had to think about it because really I have lost the routine of my days generally in remembering the days of the week. So welcome to this broadcast. Today I'm so excited and thrilled to have a very special guest on. So there's two things I have to tell you. One is this guest happens to be a family member, a very dear and special family member. She is my sister-in-law, but really I consider her as my sister and one of my best friends. And also, I have to say, she has, been on a very interesting journey with us because she came into our family, married my brother at a very young age. So we actually, I would say, grew up together. So I am so thrilled to bring her on, but also today, Fatima is going to debunk some of the myths of meditation and benefits. I know for a lot of us, this has been a journey. This is something we've been either practicing or thinking about it. And I wanted to bring somebody on who has done a lot of, research and work on herself to be able to now bring this knowledge forward. So without further ado, I want to bring this very special guest on, and I want you to ask questions, put them in the comment box. If there's any questions, I will be able to then bring it forward to Fatima as we go through this interview. So let me bring Fatima on. Hi, Fatima. It is so nice to see you. I am so grateful that you are here. Of course, I know you very well personally. We share families together, so that is very special. But I wanted to bring you on so that you could share with my audience your journey of how you actually got into being a meditation practitioner and what it meant to you in terms of how you found it.
Okay, well, thank you for having me on. Thanks for this opportunity. In terms of what brought me to this, there was never, I don't think I can really pinpoint a time when I said, oh, this is where I am and this is what I'm going to do and this is what works for me. It was quite gradual, quite subtle. I work in the healthcare field in cancer research, so things can get stressful, family life, all that, everything that I think everybody experiences in life, just too much coming at me, realizing I need to slow down in order for the world around me to slow down. I was big on fitness, still am, love it, do it all the time. But when I found yoga, it was a beautiful thing for me because it incorporated that slowness, that meditation, that slowing down the mind. And it was just kind of hand in hand, the yoga and the meditation. Meditation was always my dessert to my yoga kind of thing. And then, I also realized that maybe I've kind of been doing this all my life and just not realizing that I'm meditating, just sitting in a corner with my, head down and just kind of like keeping the world distant from me just for a few minutes. I noticed that, or I realized that as a child, I used to do that all the time, just put my head down and say, everyone get away from me, kind of thing. So that was my meditation. We grew up having a ritualistic prayer, which now when I think back, that was kind of my meditation,
Right.
So that was kind of my yoga because I stand up and sit down and do all that.
Exactly. So there's so much that we can kind of connect the dots now looking back, right? Our vision is 2020 when we're looking back, because we can kind of see how it transpired or transformed itself. So what I really want to talk about initially, as I was kind of discussing how would we broach this, is there's a lot of myths around meditation. People have a certain way that they think meditation is, or they think meditation is not. And today I thought maybe we can debunk some of these myths from your perspective. So if you can walk us through what that might look like.
Okay, so I'll go through some of the common myths, and sometimes there's a little bit of truth to the myths, and I'll expand on that as I go through them. So I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this in a yoga class, maybe. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and as you exhale, remove all thoughts from the mind. Does that sound familiar at all?
Yeah.
So remove all thoughts from the mind. Not possible. I mean, I've never experienced it. we're creatures of this earth. There's always things coming into our minds. I think a better understanding of that is to basically bring your focus to a certain point where all the clutter from your mind is not taking over. Also, bring your focus to a certain element, maybe it being the breath or something, just to keep your mind on one thing. Is your mind gonna wander off? Yes, it's gonna wander off. And you know what? You're gonna bring it back, shift it back to that one element again. And being able to be aware that your mind is traveling or headed to different places while you're meditating, and the ability to bring it back, that's the meditation.
That's
Right?
so
It's
interesting,
not
right?
sitting here, not,
Right. It's so interesting
yeah,
because
so
you
it's
say
not
it's
sitting
the
in one,
bringing back, right?
yeah, just the ability to know that your thoughts are wandering and you need to bring them back. That is the meditation. I think that's really important to know. The meditation isn't sitting here with a blank mind,
Right.
right?
Right.
Another one is you have to meditate all the time or every day for it to work, right? So that can be overwhelming. That's like going on a crash diet, right?
Yeah.
You meditate one day, 2 days, and then you don't meditate for the next 3. So you're like, I'm out. This meditation thing doesn't work for me. Um, stick with it. Meditate when you get the chance. If you don't like the word meditation, me time. Call it something that's inviting to you. Sometimes meditation, the word meditation can be overwhelming and in so many different ways. So just the ability to say, it's okay if I don't do it one day. I'll do it tomorrow. It's okay. So just stick with it. You're not going to be able to meditate every day. I
Well, I
always
think
say
that's
we're
another
actually
story. I want to
forces.
just interject there. So I think that's a really important thing, right? It's like you said, you also do fitness, but you have become really accustomed to a routine with fitness, right? But it didn't just happen overnight. And it's like building a muscle. If you're going to do weightlifting, it's going to build that muscle over time. It's not just going to happen just because you weightlifted twice, right? It doesn't work like that. So meditation is the same. You're practicing a certain skill in terms of either, coming to breath or coming to that stillness, but it's a muscle that needs work that you need to practice over time, right?
Yeah, yeah. And patience.
Right.
And patience. Another myth I would say is that when you meditate, when you come out of your meditation, you're going to be in a complete relaxation. Doesn't happen all the time. In fact, as I remember as a beginner, I would feel almost agitated. Like I sat there for 3 minutes and I feel the same, if not out of breath kind of thing, It's okay. Every meditation, like I always say, go into it with no self-judgment, only self-exception, or to just accept the self. Whatever you feel is what you feel. Don't expect yourself to feel a certain way. It'll come. It'll come. Whatever your body needs, whatever your mind needs, it will come. So don't expect anything. Another myth would be, the way you meditate. Sitting on the floor, cross-legged, incense in one corner, soft music in the other corner, nice dim room. That's not always the way things can happen, although that's an amazing environment to sit in anyways. You don't need all that. All you need is you, really. All you need is you and your breath, and you have that all the time. Right?
Yeah, and that's
So
amazing,
meditation
right?
doesn't need all these
Yeah, it's not about all the gadgets and things or whatever around you. It's really about coming to oneself. Like that's all you have anyways, right? It's you and your breath. So you can do it. I do it like in the sense of, when I was driving, I don't drive a lot now, but when I was driving, if I was at a red light, I would just take that 10, 15, 20 seconds and just concentrate on my breath, right? So it can be done anywhere, at any place. It doesn't have to be, like you said, in a room with incense. And although that is a beautiful environment to set up, if that's something that's possible. But I think that's a really good point to make, is that it doesn't have to be anything dramatic or exceptional. It just has to be you finding that few minutes to just stop.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can make it overwhelming as you want or you can make it as simple as you want, really. And, you know, in terms of the gadgets or things that enhance your meditation, I'm all for it. I love new little things, little toys, but you don't need it. You don't
Right.
need it at all.
Yep.
Another big one is, if I meditate, I am going to have this aha moment. I'm going to figure things out, right? Again, that's expectation. And the moment you expect that, it's not going to happen. Not at that point in time, right? So like I said, just let the meditation do it. You do the breathing, you do the sitting or the lying down, and just let, you know, the universe take over, kind of thing. Another one is leaving a completely quiet space to meditate. It's nice, especially for somebody beginning to meditate, or if your mind is just really, really full of chatter, it does help, but it's not necessary. You know, you can meditate with your eyes open. You can meditate in a bright room. You can meditate while you're walking. I do walking meditations all the time. Yeah, I just really customize it to you.
Right. And I think this is, yeah, and this is, and again, another point here is, you know, in terms of meditation, there's different variations, right? It doesn't have to involve just sitting or walking or, you know, this kind of thing that we generally want to do, but it could be through art. It could be through cooking. It could be through anything that you kind of immerse yourself in to come to that where your thoughts are really, or the space that you're in is very much in the now, right? Like if you can do something that brings you just to this moment, is actually stilling a lot of that chatter. So I find, like for me right now, cooking has become one of those times where I feel extremely calm, because I feel it's a form of meditation where I'm getting into something where the other chatter is not there. It's just me in my little space doing something I really, really enjoy, but in sort of a quietness, you know, it's my own space. So I just think there's variations of things that we can do to actually still the mind, right?
Absolutely. When we think about, we read books about meditation in ancient times, it was sitting cross-legged in a very quiet area, and maybe at that time, or you know, being in a cave and meditating at that time, maybe that was conducive. But in today's world, that's not conducive. You can't sustain that,
Right.
right? Because how many times are we actually looking for a quiet space to be? We don't have one available to us all the time. So I think meditation has had to evolve, or the idea of meditation has had to evolve in order to be sustainable in today's world, really.
Right. And again, so back to this point about, you know, it doesn't have to be quiet, or now that we're experiencing this kind of, I call it retreat, I know it's quarantine, whatever it is, you know, as we're sharing space with our families, the children are home, there's a lot going on. Sometimes it's not always possible to have sort of that quiet moment of, you know, at home, right? Because there's a lot of hustle and bustle, things are going on, and you're sharing space now with your family members constantly, right? Where before, when the kids would go to school, you've had a bit of a break or whatever, right? So I think that's really important to note, that even while we are in this situation, we can still be creative in having that time or space for ourselves, as you know, whether you call it meditation or me time or whatever it is to be able to just consciously bring that to our awareness, to say, this is what I'm going to bring into my routine. I'm going to add it as a 3-minute, a 1-minute, a 5-minute, whatever that is, whatever that means, right? For our own schedules. So can you kind of talk about the idea of putting it into a routine, into a daily, like we're out of routine right now because we're not doing the things we're used to, but could you talk about a little bit about how we can kind of place it somewhere, somehow, so that we are consciously doing it?
Okay. So I always say meditation is actually, it's food for the mind. So we are actually forced to meditate every time we go to sleep, right? We lie down, we put our body in a resting position, whatever's comfortable for us. Our breathing pattern changes, as in meditation, right? You close the eyes in order for your thoughts to kind of get distant from you. And you become into the rest place, reach another plane, and you're asleep, right? We're forced to do it every day. So it's actually something natural. So whenever you need that time. If you're not somebody that meditates every day and you do want to incorporate it in your everyday or just into your life when you can, you know, don't burden yourself with, I have to sit here at 3 o'clock every day and meditate because, you know, my kids come home at 3:15 or I have to pick up the kids at 3:15 and I'm going to meditate at 3. That's a lot of stress on you. Oh my God, it's 3 o'clock, I have to meditate. You know, you're not going to kind of get into the zone. So do it when you feel that you just want to quiet the mind, you know, distant the chatter, or you feel, or just be aware of your heart rate. Is your heart racing right now? Take that moment right then and there, that minute, to just breathe, right? Sometimes I do it before the kids come rushing into the car. I'll be there 5 minutes early and I'll be, okay, I need to center myself or else I'm going to go ballistic on them right now, you know, kind of thing. That was a dramatic, but
yeah, no,
so
but
just kind of calm.
yeah. I think that's
just keeping the idea of I can meditate whenever I want open
Yes.
to yourself and you'll do it. Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
Right. And I think that's key, right? Like right now, we have the ability to, you know, be at home and do whatever, but just to know that we can just stop any moment and bring that in and just say, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna, whether it's your heart rate or your breathing or whatever that means for you, right? So I think that's really key in terms of handling stress. Like you said, like even before the kids, whatever, come down when they're waking up or, you know, and you know that it's going to be really hustle and bustle because everybody's going to want breakfast and all of these things are going to happen. As you know your routine, you can kind of just pull back a little bit saying, just before that starts to happen, I'm going to give myself that 1 minute just to center, right? I think that's really important. And because once we do it consciously, for me anyways, over the last, I don't know, 5 years, it's become more, it just is now a habit and it happens, right? So, but initially it was a consciousness of, okay, I'm just going to take a minute or I'm going to take 5 minutes, right? But now it kind of is part of my, you know, maybe it's like the DNA is getting rewired to just know that it's happening because I need it. And I don't consciously have to bring it all the time into my awareness. So I think it's practice. Like I said, it's a muscle that needs to be worked on. And as you do it, and the things that happen as you do center yourself, and which is what I'm going to lead into next, is the benefits of meditation. Like, can you talk about really when people incorporate this type of awareness and thinking into their life, what are the benefits that they can actually see?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to talk about the benefits, but just to touch on what you said or what we were just discussing about kind of meditating on the fly or whenever, you know, your body needs it or your mind needs it. There's also, you know, having said all that, there's certain that you do get from daily or a disciplined practice of meditation. So there is a different benefit from that. Not to say that it's not beneficial if you don't do it that way, but there, I mean, meditation is a certain discipline that has different benefits, different ways you do it, right? Depending on how you do it. But in terms of the benefits, so we've all heard about, you know, meditation decreases stress levels. Why does it decrease stress levels? When your body is in such a state of relaxation, your body is releasing chemicals that are lowering your heart rate, bringing your body to rest, your mind to rest, right? It's acting on your nervous system, which is your rest and digest area where your body's responsible for, again, keeping the body in a rested state, you know. Some of the other benefits are, let's see, balancing the nervous system. There's been so many studies of meditation reducing physical pain, mental anguish. It ends sleep, right? It controls levels of anxiety. Now, you don't have to be somebody that has been diagnosed with clinical anxiety, right? Whatever that is, because again, we're all human and we all have experienced and we will experience certain levels of anxiety. With meditation, the ability to gauge where your anxiety level is going to go and the ability to bring it down, that's where the meditation comes in. So being aware of where you're getting and how to bring it down through your breath and your mind, and even placing your body in a certain way. Right. So it's all awareness. It's being present. It's taking that 1 second to just say, where am I right now? Physically, mentally, using your senses basically.
Yeah. I think that for
So,
me,
in
I'll just tell you here, one of the things that I noticed when I started doing it consistently was my reaction time to whatever the stress was different. I was able to actually detach from the initial reaction would be like, oh my God, right? Like that's how I used to be. I used to react very, very quickly. Now that reaction time is actually lessened. Like, it's like, I don't react as quickly. I really pull myself and I'm able to deal with that situation in a much calmer way, even though the situation is extremely stressful. It's just allowing me to handle it better because it's a practice that has brought about, like you said, right? It lessens that whatever the chemicals are, our nervous system, whatever's going on while we're in this flight mode, right? Or fright mode. It really helps to bring it down. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
it
off.
kind of tames your sympathetic nervous system. No, not at all. Yeah, so it kind of tames your sympathetic nervous system, right? So you're not as jumpy, as quickly, right?
Right.
Definitely. That was one of my, yeah. You took that away from me.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, no, that's okay. So these benefits all, you know what, one interesting fact that I was reading about is that meditation actually increases empathy and kindness. And so I was kind of reading it, and it says when you're in state of meditation, your body fires out neurotransmitters that kind of targets brain sites that are responsible for positive thoughts. And that's where increasing of empathy and kindness comes in. So I found that very, very interesting.
That is,
made sense.
yeah, that actually is very, very interesting. And I guess that's all part of the practice of, our own evolution, right? Of like figuring out who we are, what we do, and our reactions to things, because this is a human experience we're having here. So there's going to be stressors and things that are, out of our control, like COVID-19. But if we're able to bring in a practice like this, right? So whether it's COVID-19 and this situation we're in now, or any other stresses that are related to this thing, right? Like, there's people that obviously are, financially, there's stresses, there's family stress, relationship stress, communication stress. There's so much things going on right now that are adding stresses that we're not really perhaps used to. So it's a good way to say, if we incorporate this practice moving forward, then our ability to handle stress will be much better, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, yeah. So the benefits are really, they're endless. That's the different types of meditation that you can do. There's 1,000,001 types now because of this new world. So everyone needs a different way to meditate. So I can touch a little bit on that.
Yeah, please.
One of the popular ones are, popular, not popular, are primordial sound meditations. So these are sounds that you listen to or chant that hold a certain frequency. This is a really ancient type of meditation. It's rooted from Indian Vedic tradition, and one of the common ones are people that are the sound that's most familiar with people is the sound of Om, Om, right? So that sound holds a certain vibration or a certain frequency that causes you to vibrate at a certain frequency. And we now know that that sound is the frequency that the universe vibrates at. So in order to kind of connect to that frequency, we chant Om, right? When the lips come together, it causes a certain vibration that flows right through us. Listening to Om, same type of thing, changing the frequency at what we're vibrating at. And there's many, many, many different verbal sounds or sounds that you can just listen to. That's one type of meditation. Another type of meditation is a focus meditation, and that's a little bit self-explanatory. But to go in detail about that, it's using one of your senses to cause you to concentrate and bring your mind to center. Now, that can be an internal element. It can be your breath. It can be your heartbeat. So that's something you can focus on to bring you to that point. You can bring in something external, like sound. You can bring something like a picture just to look at. I've done it before where I've brought, and this is pretty popular, you just stare at a mandala and just focus on that mandala. So it just helps you focus. Lighting a candle and staring at the flame. Again, point of focus, right? Yeah, there, and people have been doing this for a long time with the rosary, the
Yes.
tasbih, or the mala beads, right? So that's another type of meditation. Another type of meditation that's becoming a little bit more popular and personally my cup of tea is Kundalini meditation. That involves movement, music, mudras, hand positions, breath work. Everything is incorporated. All your senses are incorporated with these different types of meditations. There's so many other ones. Movement meditation, self-explanatory, either dance or a type of yoga, slow movements, fast, tai chi, qigong, all these different types of just body movements where making you more aware of your place. People use sound baths for meditation, just using different frequencies to center themselves. Metta meditation. Metta meditation is basically chanting affirmative phrases to yourself for healing. Transcendental meditation is basically use certain mantra and chanting it for 20 minutes at a time. So like I said, it's endless. There's so many different types of meditation. You choose yours, kind of try everything.
Right. And I think that's the thing, like you said, right? Like you found you really resonated with Kundalini yoga, right? Like in terms of your practice, but people can try different things until you find one that really resonates with you. It could be any one of the ones you've mentioned. And like you said, they're endless, right? So, if you want to start researching them, you can YouTube them, you can look for information. I want to also put up, where people can find you. You're on Instagram at yoga_vibes. You can also find you on Facebook at yoga_vibes, I think, or is it just yoga vibes on Facebook?
Yoga vibes.
Okay. So I think in terms of, finding whatever you connect to, that's the key, right? Because it could be different for you, what works for me, it could be different. And it's nothing right or wrong. It's just finding something that really you resonate with, where you can feel that centeredness, and then practice it and make it, whatever it is, whether it's once a week, twice a week, whatever that is for you. I think it's a personal choice and it's a personal commitment. And I think that's part of self-care. Like, I think we really need to look at, any of these practices that we do as something that we're doing for ourselves, because the benefits are not just to ourselves, but to others. But initially it starts with us. And so I really like that whole idea of this inward journey, right? And I've been doing a lot of classes on this about, going within. Everything that, we can look out externally is only from our vantage point, but truly the journey begins within. And this whole idea of meditation and yoga practice and stillness really is tuning into oneself, that inner self, that's, I want to call it soul, or your higher self, or whatever that is within you, to be tapping into that power. So, I think the information and just debunking some of these myths is really important, because people sometimes get kind of sidetracked, like thinking it's one thing or another and not really understanding. So for that, I really appreciate your time. I think, just one more thing we had talked about and before the call was just about being home. And, there's, especially if you have young kids and they're kind of, they could be, right, getting stir crazy, cabin fever, they're young and, active. What would you suggest? Like, I know there's a lot of studies out there, right, in terms of meditation in children, but can you just kind of tap into that aspect of being home with our kids?
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone, or a lot of people, are going through that. I would say definitely let your kids see you sit down and have me time, or let them see you just rest and know that you need some quiet time, and incorporate them in it. Be either a game, like who can stay quiet the longest, or take them out of the house maybe, or out of that environment to a different environment with a different the park, the backyard, whatever it may be, and let's just sit here and, again, make a game out of it. Or, and they're gonna move, and they're kids, they're gonna move, and it's okay. And you're gonna be sitting there with your eyes closed with one eye open, like, sit still. It's okay. Let them move, because you want to you want it to be a feel good moment, not a moment of discipline. Like, you're being bad, let's sit here and meditate. Or, you're being noisy, we need some quiet time, because then it becomes negative.
Right.
So take them out, let them move. If they're lying down over and rolling around, it's okay. It's okay. You know, um, make it positive. Just make it positive. It'll come. If you're sitting and you're having your your moment of meditation, and your child is climbing on your back or sitting on your lap, just cuddle with them. It's okay.
Yeah.
And they will see it, and they will eventually they'll feel your energy. They'll share that energy, or you'll share that energy with them, and it will become a normal thing for them.
Right.
As of now, if I know, as a child, if my mom told me to sit down and just not move, I'd be like, that's so normal. Like, who does that, Whereas it will just be normal to them. And you hear it all the time. Oh, my mom meditates. This person meditates. You hear it with athletes. We meditate, we meditate to ground ourselves, to prepare ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's pretty common.
Yeah. It's becoming more mainstream for sure, I think, and I think with kids, and you mentioned this, you touched on it, where really it's an energy, it's a vibration that they're feeling off of us. So if we're stressed and we're like up here, they're feeling that and feeding off of it. So in terms of us bringing it down into our own energy field, they're going to tap into that energy. So we are all energy, everything is energy. And so if we're conscious of what frequency or vibration we're emitting, then we can understand our external world with our kids and our family, and kind of wonder, if sometimes things are going haywire, you may just want to pull back and say, what am I contributing to this chaos, right? Because once you center and calm, things around you tend to bring that vibration down, or that frequency of calmness back. So I think that's a really key thing. And I know that there've been studies done, and where schools are incorporating, instead of detention and instead of timeouts, just meditation classes or meditation time, of just helping kids bring that energy back down and allowing themselves to be centered within them, just by giving them that space, just the space. Whether they're doing it sitting down, whether they're rolling around, closing eyes, open eyes, doesn't matter. It's just giving them the space, right?
Yeah, children learn when they see things more than when you tell them to sit straight or sit still. They'll see you sit still, it'll come.
Right.
I know in schools, they're not calling meditation, they're calling it breathing time.
Right.
So let's just sit and breathe, So now it's bringing their focus to their breath. It might not be a focus that lasts a long time, but it's still that moment of them being present and in their breath.
Right.
And that's a big accomplishment, actually, because that's not easy to do when you first start.
And I think as we teach it when they're young, then the benefits are so much more. As they're growing up, it just becomes part of who they are, and they can themselves assess, the benefits for them, right? Because it's like a skill you're teaching them, like reading and writing. It's another thing teaching them just breathing, just concentrating a little bit more, focusing more on the breath, or whatever that might be. But I just think it's another skill that if we bring it to their awareness when they're very young, it just becomes part of who they are.
Yeah, and there's so many different methods. With my son, I actually asked him to put his hand on his stomach and just let himself feel his breath, with his stomach inflating and deflating, like little things like that. Be creative.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I think that's a really good thing to know in terms of, being home with our kids and finding different things to do. And as we are, I know a lot of parents are doing homeschooling and online teaching, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot more going on probably now than before, right? So I think it's just another thing that we have to become aware of, and bring it into our experience. So I really appreciate that. Now I'm really excited for this last part, because we talked about this, that you're going to guide me through, or guide our audience through, a meditation. So if the people that are watching, please join in. Fatima, you're going to guide us through it, correct? And you're going to explain a little bit about it before we start, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So Nasir has asked me to do a little meditation. I've chosen something that's not so conventional. And it's a Kundalini meditation. It's called Kirtan Kriya, and it's a meditation for overall mental balance. This meditation is, it's many, many different things, but overall it's mental balance. So what we're going to do is we're going to chant four primal sounds: sa, ta, na, ma, and it'll just roll off the tongue. The mudra, or the hand position, you'll put your thumb to your pinky. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. And you can rest your hands on your lap if you want, or you can keep them up. We're going to do this for 2 minutes. The first minute is, and we're going to say this out loud, almost sing it out loud. The first minute is to connect with the human voice. The second minute is to connect to the divine guide within you. Okay?
Okay.
It's super simple. It's super simple. I'm going to ask you to, not right now, but to eventually close your eyes. I'm going to keep my eyes open, so I'm a little bit conscious of time. And I'll just guide you through it. And
Okay,
just
perfect.
use your breath. Inhale, Satanama. Exhale, Satanama.
Okay.
Just do your best. It's fun and easy. It's not too long. So let's begin. I'm going to tune you in with the Adi mantra. It's the Kundalini tune-in mantra. Bring your hands into prayer. Your thumb is against your sternum. Just close your eyes. I'm going to tune you in. Take a nice deep inhale. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. I bow down to the teacher within. Good. Let's begin. Up your eyes for a moment. Let's begin with our mudra. So thumb to pinky finger. And you'll chant with me. I'm just going to set my timer here. Again, I don't want to go over time. Let's begin. Inhale. Satanama. 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 Take a nice deep inhale. Bring your palms together in prayer and just breathe. Your eyes closed. May the long-time sun shine upon you always. Gently open up your eyes. Satnam, truth is my name.
That is
Thank you.
so Beautiful. That is so beautiful. Just, as a side, I used to do Kundalini when I used to live in Brampton. I would do it every single day, and I did it for 1 full year without missing a day. It was the best practice for me, anyways, in terms of finding that calm. And I realized the benefits it brought to my business. Like, I was blown away as to what transpired based on a fact that, as a realtor, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of things going on when you're dealing with people and deals and money and da-da-da. So it really brought this kind of calmness that was something I'd never experienced. So it's a beautiful practice, whether it's Kundalini or any other practice that others you can look into, or reach out to Fatima. She'll be able to at least shed some light, guide you, give you a different perspective, give you options, whatever that is. Follow her on Instagram. Fatima, I just want to take this time to thank you for sharing this space with me, and also being one of my best friends and a dear sister. So thank you so much for that. I hope you'll come visit me again. If you're open to it, I'd love to have you on. Maybe we can do a different practice or a different meditation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I love you very, very much.
Thank you.
And if I could just add one thing to everybody out there, there's really no wrong way to meditate. You just have to make the effort to do it. And that's it.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I will definitely be chatting with you again, obviously sooner than later. But thank you again. I'm just going to close this broadcast off for the viewers, but I want to thank you again. Okay, so everybody, I hope you enjoyed it. This was something that I think is, not just for now with COVID-19, but just as a practice. If you can incorporate some form of meditation or some sort of practice into your daily routine, you will definitely see a difference. If you need any further information, obviously reach out to Fatima on her account. If you have any questions for me, I'm available for you at any time. You can reach out to me. I do have another very special guest tomorrow. You know her from the last couple of weeks, Sharon Fillmore, who is an NLP practitioner, and will be walking us through some other insights that will be, again, very beneficial. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Lots and lots of love to you all. Take care.